Franchitti is a two-time winner of the Indianapolis 500-mile race.
From the greatest spectacle in racing to the high speeds on High Turn, Texas Motor Speedway. The IndyCar Series chase for the championship awaits at the end of the summer stretch. And tonight starts the season charge for the title. 500 champ Dario Franchitti's momentum will prove to be strong. And his teammate Scott Dixon has stolen the Longhorn State before. But both will have to fight fast to keep off Team Penske and defending Texas winner Elio Castro-Neves and IndyCar Series points leader Will Power. As the summer sun goes down, the lights come up on 24 degrees of banking.
It's a marriage between physical and mental strength, for sure.
It's that kind of element of fear.
Temperatures near 100 degrees.
Often with climate, conditions are always changing, but you need to be ready to react.
Speeds at over 210 miles an hour.
The only way you figure out you're going quick is when you crash. And it can happen in a split second.
And the greatest G-forces in American racing.
So you can only breathe in the straights.
It is kind of unnatural, and it's almost a bit crazy what we do on these bigger ovals.
The cards are on the table. Who will hold them here in Texas tonight?
They gave me the nickname of Spider-Man, and trust me, not because I was saving lives.
The Indianapolis 500 is just a memory as the IZOD IndyCar Series gallops on to the Firestone 550 at Texas Motor Speedway. The track that tops the list in races with close finishes. In 20 previous events on this 1.5-mile high bank track, 15 have come down to a margin of victory of less than 1 second. Now, the air, as Lindy indicated, is very heavy with heat and humidity in Fort Worth, Texas. The temperature was expected to get near 100 today. I don't think it made it, but it's now 95. The winds from the northeast at 4 miles an hour, and the track temperature at 103 degrees. Thousands of race fans have come to see last Sunday's winner, Dario Franchitti, along with Elio, Scott, Ryan, Tony, Danica, and others battle it out at over 210 miles an hour. 26 cars taking the green flag to begin the 228th lap, 342-mile, 550-kilometer contest here at Texas.
Ladies and gentlemen, it's time for those most famous words in motorsports. Here to give the command, please welcome your Grand Marshal, Vice President of Operations for Acadian Ambulance, Clay Henry.
Drivers, start your engines!
Row 1, hot. 2, hot. 3, hot. 4, hot. 6, hot. 7, hot. 8, hot. 10, hot. 11, hot. 12 and 13, hot. Copy, all cars are running. Watch the parade cars coming up on driver's right. Watch the parade cars.
Now the driver alone in the cockpit begins to think about the task at hand, and leading the field to the green flag will be Ryan Briscoe, who yesterday won the Peak Pole Award, traveling 215.273 miles an hour. Now, Team Penske drivers this year have won the pole for all but one race this year. That was, of course, the very first race of the year where Dario Franchitti started on the pole in Brazil by turning in the fastest qualifying speed. Cars begin to move away, and we get set for some exciting racing on this Saturday night from Fort Worth. Great to have you with us. Stay with us for the next couple of hours for absolutely fantastic racing. Here's the lineup. Besides Briscoe in the front row, Dario Franchitti starts alongside. In the second row, points leader Will Power and the 2008 Texas winner Scott Dixon. Row number 3, defending race winner Helio Castroneves and Alex Lloyd coming off an impressive 4th place finish at Indianapolis.
And if you want to pick a sleeper, look at Lloyd, who's in there with the engineering staff, is Mitch Wright, who, of course, was involved with the engineering of Jeff Ward when he won here in 2002.
Hideki Muto finished 6th here in 2008. Also, Danica Patrick, she starts in that row, was 3rd here in 2007. Row number 5 consists of Mario Moraes and Marco Andretti, the 3rd place finisher last Sunday at Indianapolis.
And carrying that momentum, that 3rd place finish, Marco loves this racetrack. And what I like about him, he likes the high side. He loves to challenge that high side and carry that momentum up there. Exciting.
Starting 11th, Takuma Sato, and then Justin Wilson. As you take a look at the rest of the starting lineup, the race has been won from the pole 5 times, most recently in 2008 by Scott Dixon. In October of 2001, there were 32 official lead changes here. In 1998, we had 10 different drivers lead the race. And in 2006, Helio won the race, but led only the final 8 laps. There you see the rest of the starting lineup for tonight's event. Montos and Hunter Ray back in row number 12. And here is Jack Arute in the IZOD Performance Pit Center.
Guys, you notice we always talk about covering a football field a second. Well, look to the right of your screen. You will see that Danny Gossage, the president of the Speedway, has located a 100-yard football field on the inside of the backstretch. Now, what we're going to do throughout the course of the night, right now the cars are going through there. They're traveling at maybe what, 60 yards a second? When they crank it up and light the candle on this race, they're going to cover that football field faster than any Dallas Cowboy, faster than any New Orleans Saint, faster than any race car. We're talking about covering a football field in less than a second. Hold on to your hat, folks.
It's going to be good. Our onboard cameras tonight carried by Ryan Hunter-Ray, hoping tonight will not be his final race for Andretti Autosport. Dan Weldon is in the National Guard car, who's finished 3rd 3 times here. Tony Kanaan has a camera. He's the winner of the June race here in 2004. Marco Andretti finished 4th here last year. 500 winner Dario Franchitti will have an onboard camera starting outside of row number 1. And we will also be on board with the pole sitter, Ryan Briscoe. And we are getting set for the green flag less than half a lap away.
Right from the get-go, I would expect people will fight for the bottom of the racetrack. The bottom of the racetrack is the place you want to be when the tires are good. But, Robbie, as it develops, you'll start slipping up.
They will start kind of punishing those front tires. And when the front of the car goes up the racetrack, they got to get out of the throttle.
We have 20 overtake assists tonight with 12 seconds each. We'll watch for that as the race progresses. Out of corner number 4 they come.
No start, no start.
And there will be no start.
Flag, no start.
The front row took off way early, and so the starter and race control decided that there would not be a green.
The field itself looked great, with the exception of the front row.
Hey, fellas, let me interrupt very quickly. You wouldn't believe this. I've never seen this before. Ryan Briscoe, Will Power, Scott Dixon, Helio Castroneves, they all used the push to pass at the drop of the green flag. Oops, no green flag, right?
Yeah. That was wasted, huh? We'll try it again.
Briscoe is just a bit eager.
Dario Franchitti's car looks a little different this week. The Energizer is on the side of it, and so it is basically a black and red car and not all red. Let's see if we can do it again. The field really tightens up coming out of turn number 4. Again, Briscoe is way out front, and they do give the green flag this time. The Apex Brazil green flag waves, and we are racing at Texas.
And Briscoe really did the same thing coming off of Ford. He got that jump, and they did throw the green flag, and as a result, he's got 4 cars.
Justin Wilson was at the very top of the racetrack, making it 4 wide.
And there's still 3 wide going through corner number 3 as they are about to complete lap number 1. Look how tight the field is back in the mid portion of the track. It's Briscoe leading lap 1.
Another guy back in the field in the black car with the yellow mirrors is Schechter, and we know Schechter loves to run on the high side. Look at the movement out of Marco's car, the red car. Man.
Look out. Look out.
Wow. It's only lap 2, folks. Yeah. Don't do this to me.
Easing into it, Bob.
Yeah, right. Weldon gained 3 on the first lap. Scheckter gained 3. Matos 2. Canan 2. And Di Silvestro gained 1. Good sparks coming up from the cars in turns 1 and 2.
I was really amazed as we were on board with TK looking over at Marco's car, the amount of movement he had in that car on the high side.
Side by side for 3rd position.
Scott Dixon's going to see if he can stay on the high side, but look, he drifts back. So still at this point, if you're at the front of the line, you want to fight for the bottom.
Alex Lloyd there in the white car. Boy Scouts of America number 19 is with the leaders. He's running in 6th.
And the one thing, just to finish what Jan, you touched on at the top of the show here about what we noticed with all the cars with the side pod extensions on, is last night after the warm-up, a couple drivers I talked, they said, you know what, we're going to need more grip than I thought tomorrow. So what they learned last night, they've transferred over, saying, I got to have more downforce than we thought in this car to really be stuck and get where I want on the racetrack. And one of those places where Weldon is right there on the high side of the racetrack.
Trying to get around Danica Patrick. You can see her speed there up to 214 here on the front stretch.
You can get a little bit of a side draft, but once you get here, now he's taking the long way around. So Danica should be able to exit the corner ahead, but look at the speed. You maintain more speed when you're on the high side. That helps you on the next straightaway.
And it looked, actually, even looking back at Danica when she had to stay on the bottom there, Jan, that she actually had to get out of the throttle, just crack the throttle a little bit.
Look at Alex Lloyd.
Yeah.
He's on it.
Right up there on the high side of the racetrack. Running in 5th spot now. He's gained a position.
And this is what has set the standard in recent years for IndyCar racing. Right here, this three wide as they go into the corners. I mean, we had never seen this till we came to these high bank super speedways in the late 90s. I was part of it. And, man, when I was in this pack, all I waited for was a yellow. You get in there.
He had to lift.
Oh, he sure
lift
did
again. He went down a gear. He was like, no, I don't think I want to be down there. Dario to the outside.
Franchitti trying to get the lead from Ryan Briscoe coming off.
Oh,
man.
Bob, you got choked off your chair there.
Well, I've said it time and time and again. This is heart-stopping. Take your breath racing.
Yes. And remember the speeds these guys are doing. They're doing 212 lap averages. This isn't 80 miles an hour warm-up like this. It is incredibly intense for the drivers. You know, you're racing the guy in front of you. You got somebody to the right. You got somebody behind you, and there could be 2 of them.
But the drivers are always saying, that was fun.
If you have a car that lets you go on the high side, go on the low side, they love it. And I think that's where the fan appreciation, I always hear the drivers talk about the fans here at Texas. And part of it is because the drivers have so much fun when they have a car and can do the stuff that we're seeing that's put you off your chair almost twice now.
Couple of times.
Take a look at the way Dario Franchitti's running. I've been watching his speeds at 206. Look at Scott Dixon. He's been consistently 209, 210. He's coming after his teammate.
That's a bit of the ebb and flow, depending on if you're making a move or if you're in the tow.
Wheel-to-wheel racing between Elio and Will Power. This is the 3rd consecutive race here at Texas, and Ryan Briscoe has led. Last year, he led 160 laps before finishing in 2nd. IndyCar nonstop for you. You won't miss a thing at the Firestone 550 at Texas Motor Speedway.
Select IZOD IndyCar driver. Driver selected, Dan Weldon. Select race transport. Mission finish first. Fastest drivers in the world. See who wins at racetotheparty.com.
Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple. The easy spray answer to penetrate, lubricate, and leave a long-lasting film that protects. Forget old-school aerosols and break free with Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple.
Dear user of mayo, an invitation to come over to the other side. What else is going to take your sandwich up a notch? The lettuce? Are you up for some sandwich kick and flavor? Are you Miracle Whip?
You've never seen a photograph. You've never hunted color and captured every stray drop of it. You've never blasted out blue LED light, then sucked in every detail in 8 megapixels. You've never seen a photograph because you've never seen this. The Droid Incredible by HTC. With an 8 megapixel camera, it's nothing short of its name.
That's the thing that keeps you awake at night, is all the different things it takes to win a race.
You have to have the right setup in the car. You have to get through the start clean. Being aggressive when necessary, being patient when you need to be. Pit stops, they can make or break a race.
When something goes wrong, oh man, it's not good.
That's why it's so special to win a race.
Race settling down just a little bit. We don't see side-by-side racing up front, at least. Ryan Briscoe continues to hang on the lead by about 0.2 of a second over Dario Franchitti. The first 4 cars running within a second of each other. Dixon third, Power fourth, and Elio Castroneves running in the 5th position.
Well, I think right now what you really want to see from the lead pack and everybody back through what they're watching is saying, okay, what's the pace that these guys are running? And up at the front, Briscoe and Franchitti right now are running about laps of 211 miles an hour. Now, if you're further back in the draft, you know, you can suck up on those guys. You'll see bigger numbers. Look at this. We got Jay Howard in early. That is, anytime they're putting the screwdriver to the rear engine cowling, not a good sign.
Down to Robbie.
And guys, Jay Howard just a moment ago radioed his piss that he has lost power. He's going to bring it in. They're going to pull the hood off and take a look at the engine. But he's lost all power right now. He's hoping to get back out there, maybe salvage some points. But right now, his day is in a big world of hurt for Jay Howard.
And of course, the Sarah Fisher Racing Team. Jay did not make the Indianapolis 500. And Alex Lloyd is right there in the thick of things. He's running in 6th position between Elio and Andretti. We're on board with Dario Franchitti, who is running 2nd, but getting a challenge from 3rd place, Scott Dixon. So, guys, what's it like to race here at Texas?
You know, it's a tough race. It's very flat out. It's very close. To try and gain anything, you have to be very close to your competitor to try and get around the outside or whatever it is, and maybe a bit of intimidation with some wheels getting in there. I don't know. Like, it's
you
such
do that, would you, Dix?
Well, you know, not too often. Not to my teammate, of course. But,
thanks, mate.
you know, it's cool to have races under the lights, and Texas for me, I think, was the first race I ever did under the lights on an oval, and it definitely adds to the action and being able to see how fast the cars are.
I think Texas is one of those ones that the fans really love, and the drivers love it when they get out of there in one piece, because it's so intense out there, and there's so little margin for error, and it can be scary at times, but it's definitely a fan favorite.
And Dario lets a car drift up there a little bit. He was certainly not on the line, the shortest distance around here on that lap. Meanwhile, back in the pack, we've still got side-by-side racing. Danica Patrick is alongside E.J. Viso, and they are wheel to wheel.
Dario did a great job of really summing up what this track is all about. It's intense, the fans love it, and the whole thing.
And it does pick up a little different character when it does get dark. When you lose that ambient light and the track temperature changes, I love when it gets dark and you get into the true night racing portion. It's awesome.
And what I tell everybody is you got to come to Texas at night, because during the day, we just watch these cars go around and you get mesmerized and say, oh, they're not that fast. But when you come watch them at night, it really gives you a great sense of what the speed is.
The light shining off the cars, it is incredible. We're in for that here in just a few minutes. Ryan Briscoe leads over Dario Franchitti at Texas Motor Speedway.
The Firestone 550 on Versus is presented by Firestone, the first name in Indy racing, and by Honda, the engine supplier for the IZOD IndyCar series. and by Apex Brazil. To learn more about our Brazilian goods and services, log on to experienceourenergy.com.
If you know passion, you know my name. If the roar of a race car gives you goosebumps. If you believe that no one ever remembers who comes in second. If you're into checkered flags, chugging milk, burning rubber, you know my name. If you've ever pressed your nose to a chain link fence to get a closer look, if you own a pair of earplugs, if you know Andretti, Rahal, and Unser, you know my name. You know my name because I've been here from the very beginning. As vital today as I was over 100 years ago. 100 miles to go. I am a powerhouse. I am running wide open with no finish line in sight. I am the fire that never goes out. You know my name. I am then, I am now, I am forever. I am Firestone, and I am proud.
You can buy Royal Purple for increased horsepower, superior protection, and fewer oil changes come at no additional charge. Royal Purple is available at quality oil change centers and auto parts stores nationwide. Find one near you at royalpurple.com.
There's a reason why. In 4 years of powering every car in the Indianapolis 500 race, not a single Honda engine has failed. It's not the parts we make them from. It's the part we put in to every Honda.
Feel the excitement? That's peak performance. And it's electric.
The fun never stops with the Peak Power Inverter. It instantly converts your car's battery power to household power. Great for travel, mobile office, and all-out tailgating. It's easy to hook up. Plug in almost anything. Laptop, cell phone, TV, blender, whatever. Peak inverters turn your car into a party on wheels.
Inside, outside, all around your car. When you peak, you win.
Green flag this time. The Apex Brazil green flag waves, and we are racing at Texas. We are back at Texas Motor Speedway. Ryan Briscoe is still leading. You saw a lot of good side-by-side racing in our non-stop as the leader approaches the slower traffic. Will Power took over second position from Dario Franchitti, and Danica is on the move.
Wow. And that's P5, so we just saw her go by Lloyd as well as Elio, and pulling away, mind you. He's not just tucking in behind saying, I want to stay right on your tail. She's going.
When she went by Weldon, we went on board with Weldon. You can hear him lifting. Some people are picking up pushes in the corners. Obviously, she is not. She's maintaining her speed. Other people are dropping off.
And as I indicated, the front pack now coming up on some of the slower traffic to put laps on them. Justin Wilson goes a lap down quickly, so does Sarah Fisher. So what are we looking for in terms of first pit stops, guys?
Lap 55 is what I show at the moment as when if you're stretching, and they could certainly stop prior to that. The window is already open. So if you were to have a caution now, everyone would dive on pit road. Or if you had a really, really bad handling issue, you could pit now and take a risk that it'll stay green and fix it early.
Well, that may not be a risk, because if your handling is going away and you're off the pace by a half a second, you know, lap after lap, it's like, hey guys, get me in and fix my car and make it better.
Weldon trying to get to the inside of Elio Castroneves. Panther Racing, for which Weldon is racing, has 5 wins here at Texas with drivers Scott Goodyear, Sam Hornish Jr., and Thomas Schechter. Jack?
Fellas, one thing I want you to watch when we come down on the pit road is take a look at practice last night. The pit road area is so bumpy. You see Ralphie Matos, his car bumpy. There is no way you can go. Ryan Briscoe, after a pit stop last night, you can see the way it starts to launch the car. That's something that all these drivers are going to have to really be aware of, especially under green flag conditions. We should be seeing pits, as John said, anytime.
Been green all the way so far as Danica Patrick continues to move forward. She is coming up on Scott Dixon for 4th position.
And what makes that so challenging that Jack talked about is those bumps coming out of pit road. You've come in, you've put cold tires on, you're under green conditions. You can't give up any distance as you're coming out of that pit road. Remember those goalposts? You cover that the track in less than a second.
Now here's Justin Wilson. Remember, he did lose a lap here, and so he has had enough of the tires apparently, and he's going to get fresh Firehawks and a tank full of ethanol.
Well, he was losing a lot of speed. We saw his lap speed dropping and dropping. And Robbie, this is just what you talked about. If it drops to the point where you've got to get a change, they can change tire pressures, they can change front wing, they can definitely change a car quickly during a pit stop, because he was in trouble.
Yeah, and it comes from the pit boss, the guy who's running that treasure. Look at Danica.
You just got it. Momentum for sure. Man,
welcome back. Welcome back.
She is now in 4th position and is able to pass on the high side and the low side and everywhere on the racetrack.
Man. But anyhow, when you have a guy that's really getting slow out on the racetrack, you got the pit boss that's got to say, hey, we'll get you. Just keep giving me everything you can. And he's just kind of weighing out the speeds of the whole field and says, okay. We just heard from probably either the spotter or whoever from the stand of Danica's car. Fantastic job, and that's for sure. All the way up to P4. And there
you're better than them. Yellow.
And that is why you don't ever want to pit until the end of your window.
As Justin Wilson just did.
So always the rule of thumb, wait till the last moment.
Yep.
Because pitting under yellow is a enormous advantage. And they'll all get to do it except for those who got on pit road early.
Yellow comes out on lap number 46 of 228. So our first opportunity to take a breather with Ryan Briscoe in first, Will Power in second, and Danica Patrick was closing in on 3rd place Dario Franchitti when the caution came out.
When we do pit, we may have a crossover with the car in front of us, so be very careful. I will keep you informed.
That's Ziggy Marcus.
And that was Ziggy that came on earlier. And when he was saying fantastic job, that was coming from Ziggy from the pit stand.
Pits are going to be opening up here.
The first pit stop that you do is always the fastest.
Pits are open. Pit this lap. Pit this lap.
Because the fuel flow is higher. There's more fuel in the tank. So this is, when you're a tire changer, this is the one that pays the money, because it's harder to beat the fuel on the first stop than it is later in the race.
A little bit of pressure. And don't think when these drivers hit the pit lane like they are right now, this is when they relax.
But why are they not right on the back of Briscoe?
Because they're sleeping. Come on. That's why.
Down to Robbie.
Well, the number 7 car of Danica Patrick in 4th. She started in 8th place, and she is really not talking about anything while she's out there on the track. Ziggy mentioned, watch out for the crossover. Alex Tagliani is just in front of her. He is in the 15th position, so Alex is going to be pulling in. Lindy, it's going to be a close call here.
See Ryan Briscoe on the top there. He is adding failing front wing. 2 of his wins have been on 1.5-mile ovals. He's out. Will Power below him, who pulls out as we speak for about 25 laps, has been complaining of massive understeer. Briscoe and Will both out of the pits, Bob.
Wow, look at Ryan Briscoe lost 4 spots.
Yeah. Danica gained 1. She had a less than 8-second pit stop.
But definitely the common denominator there is we saw all the front tire changers going for that adjustment of front wing. Ziggy Harkus giving a rah-rah on Danica's crew. But they all are putting more front wing in because the front is washing up the racetrack. It's pushing up the racetrack.
And I should say Alex Lloyd just left the pits now. Had a big problem.
Tough break for Alex Lloyd. Stay with us here on Versus.
Nights at 11.
Back at Texas Motor Speedway for the Firestone 550 for the IZOD IndyCar Series. Under our first caution, the leader of the race is Dario Franchitti now. Ryan Briscoe had led all laps prior to the green flag, but had problems in the pit area. Apparently pulled into his pit box crooked, and the crew had a little bit of difficulty, so he is now back to the 5th position.
But let's remember, we got the 24 degrees of banking here, and even if these drivers, coming back to all those points you showed us on this car, this infinite amount of changes and subtleties you can have on these race car, is if you don't have a perfect race car, you can still be in that lead pack, you can still tune it and drive hard and get back up there.
As Jan pointed out, Alex Lloyd had major problems on pit lane, and he has dropped to 21st position, the last car on the lead lap.
Actually came to a stop before. Well, they had that was very quick work on getting the quick lift and getting him close enough, but he's still not close enough at this point to where you can get the fuel hose connected. People are already leaving at this stage.
Wow.
And it's
thank goodness it's under yellow.
And it's a tough position for a driver. I mean, he was just trying to get into his box as quick as he could. He locked up that right front and hit that stack of tires. And you know, you got to be aggressive, but look, if you're too aggressive, trying to get that extra second, and that happens, it can put you all the way to the back.
Tough break.
Now, Danica Patrick was definitely moving on up. First, she took it to E.J. Viso on the low side of the racetrack. Then, low side of the racetrack with Marco Andretti. Actually, she fought back and forth, high and low. Finally took him on the low side. Then, see you later, former winner Dan Weldon goes to the bottom here. Then, well, I can pass high and I can pass low. Go to the outside of Scott Dixon. Still kept that momentum. Worked her way up. We saw her get by Lloyd and get right to the back of Dario Franchitti before those stops.
And for a race driver, when your race car is doing that, it is a lot of fun, guys.
The IZOD IndyCar Series continues Sunday, June 20th with the Iowa Corn Indy 250 on Versus. Dario Franchitti looking to go undefeated at Iowa. He hasn't won every race there, but he's won every race that he's competed in there. Survival of the fastest, the Iowa Corn 250, Sunday, June 20th, 1:30 Eastern, right here on Versus. The green flag comes out, and we are back to racing once again. And let's see what Danica can do here. She's in 3rd spot there on the racetrack. She's looking to go around Will Power.
And right to the top side she goes. And anytime you do that after you've been in for a pit stop, that just shows you the confidence that she's having in that race car.
Isn't making any headway up there. In fact, almost loses his spot to Scott Dixon and still is under fire.
Now watch Ryan Briscoe. Ryan Briscoe certainly looked like he had the fastest car before that pit stop, and now he has to work his way through traffic, something he hasn't had to do before.
And this is great to see, this jockeying back and forth. But remember, look at that, man. Is when this is really important is the last, 50 laps of this race after the last stop. So right now, there still is posturing and figuring out where your strengths and weaknesses are, what you need to tune on your car for your next pit stop.
Look how
there is no question that Ryan Briscoe dodged a bullet on pit road when he pulled in wrong. In fact, during that caution after he pulled back out, he called his boss on the radio and said to Roger Penske, "Thanks so much for keeping me and alerting me." Danica Patrick continues to work the high side, guys. I got to tell you, I'm starting to look at the tires here. I think the tires are going to go one stint and only one stint. We may see guys pitting earlier than the pit window will require. Let's check in with Robbie Floyd.
I'm down in the Danica Patrick pit, and of course you've heard Ziggy over the radio just a minute ago, but Marv Treach is in her ear trying to pump her up, saying she's got a good car, letting her know where the other cars are around her. But boy, the crew here in the number 7 camp, the GoDaddy car, they have a smile on their faces. They know they have a fast car and a happy Danica, and that's a good thing here at Texas. Oh, looks like we have a car in the wall.
Sato is in the wall. Takuma Sato, driving the Lotus-powered car, the lowest sponsored car, I should say, hits the outside wall and then comes across the track, scrapes the inside wall. And Brian Howard is saying, slow down, we've got a problem.
Well, this is the first time that Takuma has really seen a high bank super speedway oval, and I asked him today right before the driver's meeting, I'm like, what do you think of this place? Crazy. Unfortunately, he's not going to leave here thinking it was a lot of fun. Roger Yasukawa, ex-driver, well, I shouldn't say ex-driver, current driver.
His spotter.
He's just not driving right now, is the spotter for Takuma.
Well, that car went a long way from when it contacted the wall to where it stopped. Takuma was battling for a 4th place in the oval race at Kansas earlier this year and had a similar fate. And you can see the rear wing of that car is in the middle of the racetrack. And Takuma says that he's okay. Let's hope that is the case. All right, let's take a look, see if we can find out what happened.
High side of the racetrack.
And this is where the bumps are, right in there, right where the sparks are.
Something broke on the car, I think.
Yeah, it just went right.
When you see sparks continuous as opposed to just bumping, something let down, let the right rear of the car down. Now, at this point, when you knock one of the corners off, that knocks off the brake line, and you don't have brakes, and you're going for a long coast.
And you can see he was trying to turn the wheel to the right with that one tire.
Going.
But what there is there's bumps right in the middle of turn 1 and 2. That's where the tunnel is into the racetrack. So when we first saw those sparks, that's when the car loaded up, hit those bumps. And the further you are up on the racetrack, the higher you are in that groove, the worse the bumps are, according to the drivers, as this track kind of, matures.
So Takuma is out of the car under his own power and will be checked over at the infield care center. Meanwhile, it's Franchitti, Power, and Danica Patrick. Here are the push to passes remaining for Will and for Danica. Remember, they started with 20. And they're of 12 seconds duration.
And you don't want those overtake buttons, push to pass buttons. You don't want to just always use them to pass people. You want to keep them at the end of the race in case you need to defend your position as well.
Dario Franchitti, the leader of this race. This is the 4th race at Texas that Dario has led in 7 starts. Under caution for the 2nd time here at Texas, and you can see these yellow lights. They're on the poles along the front stretch here at Texas Motor Speedway, a brand new innovation. They stretch 3,750 feet from turn 4 to turn 1, incorporating 168 LED light bars and 5,544 LED lights, just to keep the folks here at Texas abreast of what is going on the racetrack. Lindy?
And Ryan Hunter-Reay came in, and they've just been fighting these same speed issues. He says they've had them at Kansas and Indy. It's basically an exercise in engineering. He's not really pleased right now. And also, they've been struggling with all weekend radio problems. And at the beginning of this race, even his spotter upstairs, they were trying to switch things in and out, Bob, to see if they could get any help with that at all.
All right, we'll keep an eye on Ryan Hunter-Reay. Let's go down now to Jack Arute, who is in the IZOD Performance Pit Center. Jack?
Guys, down here in the IZOD Performance Pit, we always talk about pulling G's, especially in a high bank track like Texas. Well, I did a little research and found out that a guy's head or a gal's head weighs between 8 and 9 pounds. So what I did is I went to the bowling alley, and we're going to try and approximate what it feels like on your head. My friend Victor Williams here. Okay, so this is going to be 1.5 G's. He's going to add another one. Now I'm pulling 3 G's. I don't know about you, but I wouldn't want to have to do this for 2 hours.
I'm trying to think to go, where do we take that, Jack? Man.
Yeah, I'm speechless. I just... On June 20th, World Extreme Cage Fighting returns live on Versus, and maybe that's what you should get into, Jack, with your helmets. Hard-hitting former champ Jamie Varner looks to fight back to the top, but first he'll have to down undefeated contender Kamal Shalarus. Varner Shalarus World Extreme Cage Fighting, live June 20th at 9 o'clock Eastern, only on Versus. Here's Robbie Floyd with Takuma Sato.
Well, it's good to see you in the out of the infield medical center so quickly. What happened?
Actually, something failure. The car fell straight into the wall. I couldn't steer. So with a little shock, the bumps, and something must have failed and broken.
You're in 19th place at the time. What was your impression of this track, the few laps you had on it tonight?
It was honestly impressive. At the start, beginning of the race, I really enjoyed it. It's such exciting and a really great facility to go side by side, and I was really happy with. But then starting to struggle the balance a big time, so I was falling apart, and I have to wait until first stop.
Limited practice time only yesterday in the car on the track. How much has it changed from midday or morning yesterday to right now?
It was a significant difference. A lot more grip than yesterday, the daylight landing time. I think now it's a lot cooler and increased the grip, so I think its car's going to faster.
People were wondering if you could run side by side. We haven't had this aero package this year. Were you starting to get that feel of what it's like running 2 and 3 right here in Texas?
It's okay as long as keeping a good balance. You can go too wide, and always going to the too wide, and it's a long time as well. And it seems to be working everything okay. It's just a question of how the balance you have. Unfortunately, at the first stint, most of the guys having a problem too on the balance.
Thanks, Taku. I'm glad you're safe.
Thank you.
Takuma says it was a failure on the car, and we would agree with that. Rafael Matos started 23rd, currently 11th. He has gained the most positions of any other driver at 12th. Now, we said in the pre-race show, but I think it's worth repeating, both of the DeFerrin Dragon cars were crashed in the Indianapolis 500. The team worked 463, was it, man-hours to get this one car ready for Rafa.
Which was a 12-hour day, followed by a 17-hour day on Tuesday, a 17-hour day on Wednesday, throw it in the truck, following what was nearly 17 consecutive days of hard work in the heat of Indianapolis.
So it's safe to say it's not just the drivers that love this game.
Exactly.
It's the guys that are committed to putting the cars back together, keeping them together, and keeping them running fast.
Dan Weldon currently running in 9th position in the National Guard car. Dan Weldon has led more laps here than any other active driver, and he has 6 top 10 finishes in 10 starts.
Well, I think what we heard from Sato with regards to, he said it feels like there's more grip in that racetrack. All that's going to do for us right now with watches is you're just going to see more guys up on the high side of the racetrack and on the low side of the racetrack.
Thomas Scheckter is the one who has led more laps here than any other driver. I will correct that, as Justin Wilson, who has had problems from almost the start of the race, was in and now out with the top off of ethanol.
And there was nothing to lose for him because he's already at the back of the pack.
Yep. Okay, let's see what happens here as we go green. Boy, they line up 2 abreast, and Danica Patrick is kind of boxed in there.
Yeah, Briscoe had a jump on the outside of her. Danica kind of got boxed behind Will.
Boy, Franchini has just taken off and left this pack to fight amongst themselves.
Yeah, you know, Dar, you don't, if you're at the end of the front of this pack, you always want to gap yourself however you can. But you want to leave your special stuff for the end of the race. You don't want people to figure out your strategy this early, so when you come to that last restart, you know what to do. So you don't want to give it up too early.
Danica still in the battle for 3rd position with Ryan Briscoe on board with Ryan.
He just went to a higher gear because he's in the draft.
She just used a push on the overtake assist.
We knew where we were going with that. Overtake, push to pass, yep.
Now Briscoe gets the advantage.
So she used it in a defensive mode, but Briscoe still on the high side, had the run and got it done.
Yeah, but look at Dan Weldon. Talk about momentum.
Yeah.
Look, he's on it.
Weldon just had to dump the throttle there because Kanan got checked up. And look at on the outside of Weldon. Oh, man. Elio. I'm just going to hand you a popsicle, Dan. Here I am.
Here comes Schechter in the 24 car.
Yeah, look out for him on the high side. He's not afraid to put it up there.
And he is the driver who has led the most laps here of any active driver.
These cars are much better. We talked about those over 1 trillion possibilities for a setup, and these engineers have made changes at the first stop, and a lot of these cars are much better than they were.
And we talk about Thomas Schechter leading the laps. What he wanted to do, Jan, in that practice last night, he was struggling in traffic to run flat in turns 3 and 4. He said, guys, the key to this race is to run flat all day in traffic if you can. And he was having to give too much up in turns 3 and 4, so that's what I know he's been adjusting for.
Robbie, the other thing that he was concerned about is the bumps all the way around the racetrack. The concern was unlike other drivers. When I talked to him about it, he said, I really don't think the bumps have changed at all. And I said, well, what about on the high side? And he said, I like the high side. Bumpy or not, that's where I want to be tomorrow night.
Yeah, that's Thomas.
Well, the 9 and the 11, Dixon and Kanaan continue to battle wheel to wheel. They have had some very close calls out there on the 1.5 mile high banks of Texas.
I bet you're wondering how a guy like me got a life like this. It was just that easy.
See more finalists now at GoDaddy.com. Domains, websites, and everything in between.
Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple. The easy spray answer to penetrate, lubricate, and leave a long-lasting film that protects. Forget old-school aerosols and break free with Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple.
Mayo's always saying how real it is. We agree. It's real. Boring. Are you up for some sandwich kick and flavor? Are you Miracle Whip?
The side-by-side battling continues at Texas Motor Speedway. It's the Firestone 550 here on Versus. The top 5, Franchitti, Power, Briscoe, Patrick, and Dixon. And now let's get down to Robbie Floyd.
I want you to look at this, Bob. A cut tire for Mario Moraes. He lost 7 spots because he had to pull it in. One of the Newman Haas guys spotted it. But actually, when Takuma Sato crashed, Mario Moraes, his own teammate, ran over debris, cut the tire, lost 7 spots in the process. Went from 13th to 20th. Hasn't said much about the car. I think he was happy with it, but he's not happy with that cut tire. Had to go with the freshing. He's back out on the track in 20th.
But the good news from that is they caught the tire that it had a puncture in it and brought him in before he ended up in the fence as well.
And of course, all these cars have tire pressure sensors on all sets of tires on the wheels, and so there is an alarm on the dash as well as alarms on pit road that monitor all the time the tire pressures for that very reason. You really need at these kind of speeds to know, even if you've lost a few PSI, that can be really dangerous.
There's Alex Lloyd racing on the high side of Ryan Hunter-Ray, but just ahead is the 36 car of Bertrand Baguette. Let's give a shout out to him. He has gained 10 positions since the drop of the green flag. He started in 22nd position, and he is now up to 10th, and this is only his third oval start. Bertrand Baguette there in the yellow and white. Rafa Matos battling alongside him. And also side-by-side racing.
Look at that. The Penske cars, that's Briscoe, the one following. We're on board right now with Briscoe. He just kind of washed up the racetrack on the high side a little bit.
Saw Will Power do that earlier. Here comes Dixon on the outside of Danica.
Well, obviously, the aerodynamic changes that they've made for the series last year that we didn't have here at Kentucky has absolutely allowed these guys to suck up on each other. Look at this. Danica, look at the run she has.
Gets a wiggle. See? Oh, that's because as soon as you get into that gap, the white line signifies the change in the banking. And if you just get onto that white line in the banking section, it will definitely torque the car around.
And if you do it too many times, one time, you're not going to catch it.
Yeah.
Danica is running in 5th position, but all 5 cars, the top 5, running within 7/10 of a second. And you can see Dixon has used 5, and so has Danica.
Well, again, I was saying earlier about some of the aerodynamic changes that the series instituted, the league instituted last year at Kentucky, absolutely helped the competition and the side-by-side action we saw at the end of last year. And that is definitely the case here.
Thomas Scheckter is running in 9th position. He's having a good race. He was the pole sitter here in 2002, 3, and 5. Jack?
And Bob, I've been watching and analyzing Thomas Scheckter as compared to Dario Franchitti. Now, Scheckter has been consistently running about 2 to 3 miles an hour faster than Franchitti when he's out in the clear. I think what Schecter's doing right now is just exhibiting a lot of patience and maturity. Something Robbie Floyd we have not seen from him in the past. Let's check in with Robbie now.
Zig, what are you telling Danica?
Just tell him to look after the tires, try and stay with it. She's car's still pretty good. She's just working it. We just want to still got a long way to go, so we just want to save the tires, work the car.
What's she been saying to you?
She's pretty happy right now. She's not saying a lot. That's always a good thing when she doesn't say a lot, so we're happy.
Silence is golden, guys.
Ziggy's a veteran of IndyCar racing, has been around this sport a long time. Now calling the shots for Danica Patrick. It's Franchitti, Power, Briscoe, Dixon, and Patrick with 87 of 228 laps completed at Texas. Dario Franchitti is doing what he did most of the day at Indianapolis last Sunday. He has the rest of the field in his rear view mirrors. He is leading here at Texas Motor Speedway in the Firestone 550. He has a 0.2 of a second, or you can see the interval there from the onboard camera. Back to Will Power running third, rather second, Briscoe third, then Dixon, and Danica Patrick.
Now the question is, if we think back to Indianapolis, he had a low downforce setup, and if he was out front, he was good. But if he got back in traffic and didn't have as much downforce on that car, it made it where he'd fight it a little bit. If that happens here, you know, is he going that same direction here, Jan?
The setups are so totally different that I doubt that's the case.
But there is a trade-off to downforce, drag, speed.
He did say he was one of the drivers that wanted to add downforce after last night's practice, but we said a lot of people.
I was going to say that was pretty much everybody.
All right, let's go through the field here on Firestone through the field. Dario Franchitti currently running in 5th position. Was on the pole here last year and in 2004. His best finish, however, was 4th in 2004.
Now for Will Power, I talked to him yesterday. He said after all the miles he did in Indianapolis that his confidence has skyrocketed on the ovals. He feels much more comfortable.
And he is in a battle with his teammate Ryan Briscoe.
And Briscoe, you know, you just said what a good job Willpower's doing. I think this guy right here last year was the class of the field on these super speedways. And even though he came up short in Homestead of the championship and finishing second, he had a brilliant drive at Homestead.
Scott Dixon is the only Target Chip Ganassi driver to win here at Texas Motor Speedway. Has led 121 laps total at this facility. However, he has not led tonight. Danica Patrick's kind of fallen back from those four and now finds herself about 2.2 seconds behind.
I think that's a case that her first initial setup was the best of the group. When they all fell off, she went to the front. They're going to have to keep tuning. And, of course, her teammate, Tony Kanaan, team leader when it comes to setting up these cars, and they obviously have a good setup this evening.
This coming Wednesday night at Eldora Speedway, owned, of course, by Tony Stewart. We'll get to that later as we have Simona Di Silvestro against the safer barrier.
A lot of flash and flame coming out of there.
And those flames are usually caused by oil.
But look at how much is up on the right front.
Oh, yeah,
there.
this is
that's not good.
A little more serious than an oil fire, I'm afraid. Let's get the fire.
Wow.
Jeez, we got to get her out of there, but quick.
Come on, come on.
Having a little bit of difficulty doing so.
Go, get her out, get her out.
Let's get the flames retarded here, shall we? Man.
There's an extinguisher bottle. Come on, get it on there.
Having just all kinds of difficulty getting her out of the race car.
You need to get the head restraint out, and they were trying to do so, but it was binding, and it is very difficult to get out of these cars. Obviously, the team is livid.
Yeah. But there she is. She's out, so that's great.
Yeah, of course, the driver's suits protect in flames to a certain degree. But that was a major, major fire. I haven't seen a fire in an IndyCar like that in quite a while.
I was expecting, and I said sort of nonchalantly, well, that's usually from a gearbox or from an oil cooler. It catches fire, and then by the time it comes to stop, it just goes out by itself.
You got the hot headers. It explodes. The oil gets on there, and it's kind of a flash fire.
Well, what it did was it caught the bodywork on fire, and then, of course, it grew instead of just dissipating. See, the head restraint is still intact. And there's two clips that you have to undo and lift that out. And your head is almost a force fit in there, because you saw Jack with the bowling balls talking about that kind of G-force. It's a press fit for the helmet. We've got to get that head restraint out of there to make easy exit. Eventually, they just forget it, try to turn her sideways, and you could see yank her out of the car.
Yeah, which is painful.
Yes.
I mean, that's a small gap to do it, but, you know, they had to get her out of there. And like you say, to get those clips off of there, that wasn't the thought process. It was just to get her out.
Well, the ambulance will take her to the infield care center as well. Let's hope that she has suffered no major burns. It was obvious since she walked away that maybe no broken bones, but let's hope that the driver's suit did protect her.
For the Rookie of the Year for the 500, that's
right.
That's not what you want a week later.
Finished in 14th at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway last Sunday, winning Chase Rookie of the Year honors.
And absolutely loved her experience there. She loved the challenge of the racetrack. She loved all the pit stops and the whole gang, the whole game of what the Indy 500 is.
A lot of debris on the racetrack. And that will delay us getting back to racing here for a few minutes. And we will be seeing more pit stops here in just a moment, as they pass by the wrecked and burned.
All right, when you get down, you're going to come around with
Silvestro.
Remember, he's the only red target fire suit tonight. Come around him.
Sounds like Barry Wands
coming around
talking to Franchitti.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Everyone in, at least the top three. However, we see Ryan Hunter-Ray not able to get it.
Danica's out.
Great job.
Dario's the first one out, followed by Power.
Then again, Dixon had a battle there off pit road. And look at Ryan Hunter-Reay. Ryan Hunter-Reay was moving up nicely. We heard him say that he was having trouble, but he had moved up to 11th position. But this pit stop is going to set him back.
He's not going to lose a lap, but he's going to go to the tail end of the pack.
And we have 19 cars on the lead lap.
Fired him back up.
Stay out there until I tell you to come in. Stay out there until I tell you to come in. I couldn't see, man. I couldn't find the pit. It's all right. It's all right. Just get our heads back here. Just try to control this loss. Don't come in until I tell you to.
So obviously Hunter-Reay's got to come back in again because maybe they didn't get all the fuel in. Let's watch his.
It sounds as though they didn't get any fuel just by the radio communications. And see, he's looking for it, then locks it up. You just heard him say,
I couldn't see the
pit.
And let's say no
fuel at this point, but they go for the. Now here's why you can't see, because your view is blocked with the car ahead, and
And remember, we're on the onboard camera.
Which is a little higher.
We're higher, but remember, his tear off has probably got some grease on it. He hasn't ripped it off. Usually, you rip that off when you leave the pit. Oh. There's the vent man standing there waiting to plug in,
Now the nose of the car, or at least a piece of the car, certainly contacted lightly the wall there, so they may need to check the front of that to be sure everything's okay as well.
I mean, at this point, for him just to come back in and get fuel, it doesn't matter because they were at the back of the pack anyhow. So when the pits reopen, they'll come in, top off, and go.
So the battered car of Simona Di Silvestro is on the hook, and we're cleaning up the accident that has caused this caution flag here at Texas Motor Speedway.
Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway. Simona Di Silvestro has been taken to the infield care center. But here in the IZOD Pit Performance Center, I wanted to analyze that pit stop by Ryan Hunter-Reay. I want to draw attention to this area here where they have the signboard, but more importantly, down in this area here when we go to take a look at it, because watch from the onboard. Now let's roll it for just a second. Ryan Hunter-Reay's trying to find his pit. He goes around Marco Andretti, and all of a sudden, he starts to turn in, and it's too late. Why is it going to be too late? He might have been able to do what Ryan Briscoe did, but stop it right here. Look what stands right in his way, a tire. He wasn't able to get away with it the way Ryan Briscoe did. It got him in crossways, and it cost him a lot of time that he had made up on the racetrack. Fellas?
In fact, it drops him back to 19th position, and there are now 21 cars on the lead lap. Well, the most epic race ever, the Tour de France, begins July 3rd only on Versus. For 21 days, the world's best cyclists will take on the rolling plains, soul-shaking cobbles, and grueling mountains of France. The most epic race ever, the Tour de France, July 3rd, 11:30 Eastern, only on Versus. Robbie and I love the hockey games, and Jan loves the Tour de France.
Yes, I do. All cycling. This year, they're adding the cobbles. They didn't have cobblestones last year, so some of the riders did some of the one-day classics to ride across the cobbles to get tuned up just for the Tour de France. That's going to be a good element.
How about that?
And the Flyers tied it up last night. That's great, Jan, but the Flyers tied it up, Jan, last night, too.
In overtime, yep. All right, well, the crash scene looks a little better than it did as we go on board with the leader of the race, Dario Franchitti. Back in 1997, Arie Luyendyk won the Indianapolis 500 and then Texas. In 2008, Scott Dixon did the double. Elio did it last year. Can Franchitti do it in 2010? He has led 59 laps so far tonight, and he is currently in the lead over Will Power and Ryan Briscoe. And there is Simona's car. The IndyCar Series officials are looking it over, and I'm sure this will be an extensive examination as we go along. Meanwhile, the sweepers and even the jet dryer now on the racetrack, making sure the debris is blown off the track so we can go back to racing.
And it's not just about getting the debris off the racetrack, it's about pit in and pit out. Lindy, you got more?
Well, I'm here with Clive Howe. Will Power's about to come in. Clive, does he have something stuck under his car? Hang on, let me let him talk to Will for a second. It appeared Will Power, he thought he had some debris stuck under his car, and now Will thinks that possibly it's gone. He's busy, so we're just going to let him work right here. But the crew is set up for Will to come in.
Nice and easy. Pick your marks here. We're going to take our time and make sure it's right here. 3, 2, 1.
And you heard Clive say...
Looking, we're checking it out. Take it easy, take it easy. Nice and easy.
You want to come in and make sure nothing's wrong. You know, it could ruin your race, but you're under yellow, and now's the time to say, hey, get it right. If we can fix it, because if you're at the back of the pack, you can get to the front with a good race car. So this is the right approach.
Now, these cars run low. And if there's debris on the racetrack that is larger than the ride height, it'll just roll underneath there and just put a big old gouge underneath the car.
Muscle it up, muscle it up. Okay.
And Jan, you saw they put a little patch down there on the under tray. I want to point out, too, that it was a few years ago, a similar situation with Jill DeFerrin driving for Roger Penske. During a yellow flag, they thought they had some problems, came in, took a look at stuff, went to the back of the pack. By the end of the race, he was in victory lane.
I'm not sure my tape job's going to hold.
Still waiting on word on the condition of Simona Di Silvestro involved in a fiery crash here at Texas Motor Speedway. Bob Jenkins, Jan Bigas, Robbie Buell, Jack Arute, Robbie Floyd, and Lindy Thaxton back at Texas Motor Speedway for the Firestone 550. We are within 4 laps of the halfway point and still under caution because of the accident involving Simona Di Silvestro. And now there's a question as to whether Will Power is going to have a good race car when things get going again. Ryan Hunter-Reay makes a return visit to pit lane.
And we're looking at his fueler, so he got in there where they can get fuel in and off the
And Robbie, this makes a lot of sense. When you're at the back of the pack, why not pack in the fuel? That's what he was doing before. So as you look underneath the car of Will Power, let's see. Boy, you really can see that there's some debris under there or something, isn't there, guys? It's got a big scar in the carbon fiber.
And we could see when we were up there with Clive Howe just how intense that moment was, and Will thought something was in there, and there sure was somebody's wishbone in the side pod of his car, so obviously he had to come in. They removed that, and Bob also, when he was in, they did a half turn of front wing on his car, and now he's back out, and we'll see what he can do at this point.
But Lindy, just as we went to break, we overheard from your camera them saying, we're not sure the tape job will hold. So certainly with that gash, that of course would be from Simona Di Silvestro's crash. He went across some debris, so he hasn't been at speed yet, but that's not good for aerodynamics.
He has dropped back to the 18th position. There are 21 cars on the lead lap.
And you talk about tape job, when we panned in on his car, there was something hanging down. I mean, tape job or not, there was something that was definitely still hanging down on that thing. Man.
Let's go back to racing, shall we? It's Dario Franchitti out in front of Briscoe, Dixon, Patrick, and Tony Kanaan.
And Dario didn't get the gap that he had that time before. Briscoe was ready for that.
Will Power, of course, is the points leader going into this race, and Lindy pointed out in our pre-race show that we may have a change at the top, and that's very possible. But we've still got half a race to go as we ride on board with Marco Andretti with Thomas Scheckter right beside him.
What a difference between one car that lifts and another that doesn't. As soon as Marco lifted, Scheckter was through the corner.
Marco's back in 10th position. And look at Danica once again showing some muscle here, battling for third. on board with TK.
Love the there. You heard TK lift off the throttle. He had a big run coming behind Danica, and he just right now he's happy. He's just gonna lift, stay right there, and just see what sorts out in front of him.
Still there.
Saw there just backing off the throttle.
Still there.
That's why he said still there.
Because it's
That
Weldon.
means don't unwind the wheel. Here comes Weldon.
Yeah. Doesn't mean stay there. He's still there.
When you hear clear, that means you can unwind out to the wall if you want. Wow. They've all come back together.
That's what we like at Texas, boys.
Biso is on the bottom side of the racetrack. Weldon on the high side. And there we see Elio Castroneves and Scheckter. Scheckter in the yellow and black car tonight.
Well, that's what, when we were riding on board, they were on board with...
There he is right there.
And he likes the low side, too.
Yeah. But the thing is, once you're in the queue and you, whoa, 3 wide.
No.
Remember I said Marco loves the high, he loves the high side of the racetrack. Man, he's got momentum. He's still going to carry that momentum.
Scheckter looks strong. Here's Alex Lloyd, who has moved back up to 10th. He's battling for a top 10 position again.
So Alex Lloyd making up from what we saw him falling back earlier. Nice run for him.
Again, part of what, and that's just why the drivers love this racetrack, because if something does happen, you cycle back and you got a good car, you can race your way back up to the front. Drivers love it, fans love it, we love it.
Just really got to commend Alex Lloyd for his performance in the Dale Coyne car, finishing 4th in Indianapolis, having the problem with the bad pit stop earlier, but now battling for the 10th position.
Lloyd and Scheckter side by side.
You and I were doing the Firestone Indy Light Series, Robbie, when Alex Lloyd just
dominated,
blew away all the records.
And for the minimal time that he's had an IndyCar, he's been hello.
Danica just
teammates.
Tony Kanaan.
And look at Vizo go by. Bam.
That took care of his moment.
Marco goes by. That was Marco.
Here comes
Weldon, National Guard car.
Oh, and here comes Alex Lloyd. We were just talking about him as well.
Maybe we should hear what's going on TK's radio.
Well, he lost that momentum. He got chopped badly by his teammate.
Scheckter, your mirrors outside.
Here it is, coming into turn 3.
Man.
Yeah. He was going to make a move on her, and she decided she might make a move on Dixon, and wow. He had to back out of it. Alex Lloyd going to the high side now, looking at Weldon.
He is up to 8th.
Remember, he was all the way at the back because of a pit miscue at that first stop. And when we started the show, I said he could be a dark horse, and for some reason, I meant to say Mitch Davis, of course, is his engineer on the engineering staff that has brought that setup, that he's so confident. He said, I'm going to tell Alex
One back right behind you, still outside.
that this is a setup that I won with Jeff Ward, and you just stand on it, baby, and I'll take you to the front.
And conveying that confidence to the driver is part of the game. And you start believing what your engineer or your technical director's telling you. That's the game, guys. That camaraderie. Still there.
Rubbing on you.
Alex Lloyd. I know it's Alex. Okay. Come on. But that now, see, when you hear him saying still there and they're side by side, what that does is that allows these guys, TK and Scheckter, to come right up behind them. So that's where it just creates great excitement and the action here.
Robbie Floyd with more on Alex Lloyd.
Well, I talked to Alex yesterday after that first practice. Remember, he had never raced here before, and he was sitting in the pit box during practice while Danica Patrick turned 50 laps around the place. I said, are you that good, or is the car that good? And he told me both. When I talked to Dale Coyne today earlier, he said it's all about confidence, Robbie. We had a car that wasn't so good and turned into a 4th place car at Indy. He brings that confidence here at Texas. Watch out for Alex Lloyd.
Very good point, Robbie. Yep. Oh, this is a great pack here.
Ooh,
lift again.
Now, can Alex take advantage of that?
That'll help him.
A little bit. So this type of action is when you're in the heat of it and you're trying to work on somebody. After about 15 laps of it, you're saying, hey, can you give me a yellow out here? I need to catch my breath.
Elio going 214 miles an hour there at most, but Ryan Hunter-Reay has the IZOD fastest lap of the race. It was on lap 117 at over 215 miles an hour, and he is still on the move.
And remember, he was the guy that said he wasn't really happy with his race car and the sheer speed of it. Well, he's got the fastest lap.
He had it there. He just passed. While you were saying he had the fastest lap, he blew by 4 people, Bob.
Yeah, did you see it? He dropped a gear, and there was some checking up on the high side. He just stayed on the bottom. Yeah.
Alex Lloyd and Thomas Scheckter are now in a battle for 9th.
So he cleared Kanan, who he heard was lifting.
And he's by Scheckter, guys.
But he had to give up his fight briefly for Weldon. Remember, he was side by side with Weldon.
At the top of your screen, those numbers after the driver's name, number of pushes left in the ultimate assessment.
Oh, look at that split. Wow. I think he just clipped it. Did you guys see that? I think that was Bertrand Baguette that went right through the middle there and just clipped him.
Elio is involved.
Keep it high.
Oh, there's Baguette, who
having a great drive for Eric Bachelor.
And Elio is not happy with Alex.
They both speak Portuguese.
I was going to say, they can understand each other.
Marias.
But for Bertrand Baguette to be actually driving that car back.
Yes,
that was
that damage is
for that quick snapshot we saw there going through.
Because it was 6 inches another direction, and that would have been a different story.
Mario Marias. Here is Bertrand Baguette. Coming in for repairs. They're gonna.
There's a lot of damage.
Yeah, that suspension's cooked on the front, and Elio with a stare back that was not a friendly one.
Elio doesn't show emotion like this very often, but he obviously was unhappy with Marias. And a damaged race car for Team Penske. It happened right here in front of the paying customers, and when Bertrand Baguette went through there, there was a collective sigh of, ooh, watch it.
Coming off of 4, and that's it. Elio had a head of steam, and Marias just kind of kept moving up the racetrack.
Watch.
Look at this. Unbelievable. That is a case where we've heard so much tonight. And look at that, splitting the gap. We've heard so much tonight. Outside, still there. All right, if you don't have that call, if you don't know that, and you unwind the wheel, that is what Castroneves expected, is that Marias would have known he was coming.
But Castroneves was coming with a head of steam. It's not as though he was totally up alongside. I mean, he was kind of getting there and holding it. But you hold your line when you come off. The spotter should have said, hey, he's back there. He's at your right rear,
Elio has made his way back to the pit stand. It's only the second DNF for Castroneves here at Texas. He was involved in a crash here in 2007 on the 197th lap. Today it occurs on 129th lap.
Leaders will pit.
Lap. Pit off of 4. 10-4 coming in.
You are at a point here to where I don't think you would short fill. I think you want to take all the fuel because you're on an early part of a window. So it's basically get all the fuel and obviously stop straight but on the marks.
But after this, they have one more stop.
They do.
There's going to be one more stop. That's it after this.
Correct.
Hey, Robbie, the one thing to watch, though, remember that the 37 car, our buddy Ryan Hunter-Reay, he pitted a little bit later and packed in fuel. Fuel flows at a certain rate. He shouldn't have to take so long on pit road, should he, as everybody else?
3, 2,
Track position.
Okay, nothing fancy here. Power stayed out.
Dixon picks up. Yeah, Dixon got in there.
TK build up. Oh, Marco.
Now Marco is the one.
Is he still fired? Yeah, he's still fired.
Schechter, they had the quick lip half for him too.
Oh, and they can't get the fuel in, Jan. The fueler's going stretch.
Yep, parked too far from the pit wall and the refueler. Now they're getting fuel in it, and away he goes. But again, didn't lose a lap, so he's
going to watch him come from the back again.
Watch him come from the back.
Yep.
Elio, first of all, what did you say to Mario Moraes after that crash?
I don't think I'll be able to speak that on TV, on public TV. Certainly, something happened. Our car was very tough in the beginning of the race, but then we're adjusting pretty well, taking it easy. It's only 130 laps. I mean, it's still 100 laps to go, so there's nothing I could do. I got a good run on him, and somehow he just kept going up, and I'm like, what are you doing? And I'm the one, after that pit stop, certainly I did not have a radio, so I was always running outside to make sure that I have everything covered on the outside. But I'm sorry, but Mario, I mean, it wasn't the first time. Actually, he did that before in the beginning of it. I don't think he has a little bit of that perception, but it's a shame because 132 laps, I was taking it easy, especially when you don't have a radio. In these conditions is the worst thing. So very upset, obviously, with the result. We want to finish in the points, and that's going to hurt on the championship. We got to turn the page and move on, but very disappointed.
And unfortunately now not a chance for a back-to-back win here at Texas. Robbie Floyd with Baguette. Robbie.
Yeah, Bertrand, you started in 22nd. You moved up into the top 12, had a fast car, but unfortunately you had a front row seat to that accident. What was going on in front of you?
I don't know. I saw two cars going in the wall in front of me. Then I tried to avoid it, but it goes so quick. I just saw the car coming on me. I tried to pass between the two, but I couldn't. So it's really a shame because the car was so good, so quick. I could move up. Yeah. Wow, it was close, but didn't make it.
A game of inches. You're seeing this go on in front of you. You still pinning it, or are you having to try and bob and weave? It looked like you were still going straight, but were you on the gas?
Yeah, no, I was braking. I was slowing down, but it goes so quick, and the car just came on me, and I couldn't do anything. I just tried to go between the two, but it was impossible. But as I say, the car was so quick. We deserved again a better results. We had a good car at Kansas. We had a good car at Indy. We had a good car here. Unfortunately, no good result yet, but it will come for sure.
Unfortunately, the next time we'll see Bertrand is in Iowa.
Bertrand out of the race, and Schechter makes another pit stop and rolls back onto the racetrack.
And that was because they couldn't get the fuel there,
yep.
I don't think.
All right, let's take a look at the race off pit road. There's Dario. And Dixon second, followed very closely by Ryan Briscoe, and then Danica Patrick. So that's the way they will line up when we go green once again from another caution flag here at Texas.
Welcome back to Texas Motor Speedway, where we saw a fiery crash from Simona Di Silvestro, who just walked out of the infield care center. What is the situation? I see your hand wrapped up.
Yeah, I just burned my hand a little bit because of the fire. You know, car was a little bit loose, and I just lost it coming out of two. You know, it's a shame for the team because we really improved the car during the whole race. It was getting better. It was a little bit loose, but you know, it happens. I feel bad. Yeah, hand is a little bit burned because of the fire. Couldn't get out quickly enough, but feel okay and ready to go to the next race.
You were brushing this off. I can't believe you're a rookie. The way that you communicated with, you know, your whole crew. What was it like for you being in that fire while everything was going on around you, them trying to pull you out?
Yeah, it was pretty crazy. You know, the fire wasn't going away. It was just getting worse and worse. So it was just a little bit scary, but, you know, the guys did a good job of taking me out and, you know, just pulled a little bit on the side part where it was on fire and burned my hand a little bit, but we should be all right.
A little bit or quite a little bit? Everything good for Iowa?
I hope, you know, I hope the blisters are going to wait for Iowa. If not, we'll just have to drive with it.
I can't believe she got out of that fiery crash, guys, and smile on her face and looking forward through the next race.
Wow. Here was the scene a few minutes ago as they had difficulty getting Simona out of the race car, but the only burn apparently was on her hand.
And she said because she put her hand on the side pod, as you could clearly see, they're trying to help them get her out.
Yep. Okay, well, they were going green, but they didn't. Now they're going to try it again. And it is Alex Tagliani at the front of the field, who did not pit. Will Power second, Franchitti, Dixon, and Briscoe as they charge off of corner number 4 to take the green.
And Tag's got a great restart. Let's see what kind of speed he has. We know he had it in Indianapolis. Let's see what he's got right now at the front of this pack.
But they haven't been quick here yet. And it's nice to get track position by not pitting, but I would expect he's going to get gobbled up.
And look at this 3 wide gobble up.
We mentioned in the qualifying show yesterday, a change at the fast racing team. Rob Edwards has been elevated to COO of that team. Jim Frudenberg had that position but resigned earlier in the week. Now we're on board with Dario.
Justin Wilson staying high.
Wilson is a lap down. Holds on to the lead.
Well, he's doing a nice job of defending. He's not getting gobbled up as quickly as I expected. He will be lighter on fuel, so that's somewhat of an advantage, but he doesn't have the new tires. Look at Dixon.
Looked to the inside, but thought better of it. And now Power drifts high on the racetrack.
Yeah, we saw him do that earlier.
He's done
so
that a few times.
He must be comfortable just letting the car have its head, not try and bind it up and stay down. Just going to let it float up there if that's where it wants to go. Keep the momentum that way. Longer distance, but momentum.
Kanon's running 9th. Alex Lloyd beside him. Now in front of him. PJ Viso in the mix too. And Danica Patrick is ahead of it all that.
Well, for the gangbuster kind of approach that Dixon and Power had with Tags, now they've just settled into really being behind them. Pretty stout deal.
And I'm very impressed by Tagliani. His engineer, Alan McDonald, I talked to him last night, said, you know, I'm going to be staying up late tonight because we just don't have the speed. Well, he must have stayed up late enough to make a big change on that car.
Danica passes Dario. Picks up 5th.
Whoa!
Dario lifts big time.
You know, that just takes the air off the front of Dario's wings, and up the track it goes. Jack?
Danica Patrick wants to make hay early in a stint. What seems to happen, according to Ziggy Hargis, is when they get down to the second half of the fuel load, the car, in terms of handling, starts to go away. It's the first half where she is able to drive it high, low, and it's very comfortable in traffic. Now, as we're on board with Tony Kanaan, you know that Kanaan and Patrick are teammates, right? Mario Moraes over on the right-hand side. Michael Andretti is not at all happy with the move that Danica Patrick made on Tony Kanaan. Let's go to Robbie Floyd.
I'm with Mario Moraes, who was in that crash with Helio Castroneves. What happened from your perspective in that wreck?
Unfortunately, I didn't have my spotter. My spotter didn't say he was outside, and he was just outside in my right rear. So when I saw it was in the wall already.
Helio was saying that he didn't have communication, that maybe you didn't see things so good out there. You couldn't see him, could you?
No, I was looking at the car in front of me. You know, I was pretty close to the car in front of me, and you know, he's Elias Pastranato. He never make any mistakes. So let's see. Someday he needs to make some mistakes as well. You know.
Accidents happen, guys. Two different stories from two different gentlemen.
But the key word was there that I couldn't tell if he said he didn't hear or he wasn't told. But clearly, he was not told by a spotter that he had someone there. And when you don't know, you don't unwind the wheel on a super speedway coming off of a corner. That's just kind of etiquette. If you don't know for certain there's no one there, you can't go out to the wall.
How about Ryan Hunter-Ray? He is up to 9th spot.
Remember him coming down pit road, didn't come in and get fuel. He's got a good race car because he is right on the back of Alex Lloyd and going fast. He just didn't have anywhere to go, so he just had to lift out of it till he gets a gap.
Well, the two Penske cars of Power and Briscoe are wheel-to-wheel while Tagliani continues to lead this race. Tagliani at 210.6 and Power at 210.3 last lap. Watch this. Briscoe and Dixon. Oh, I think they rubbed wheels, didn't they?
Yeah, I don't think I can see Firestone, and I did before that. I think we rubbed the Firestone Firehawk right off the side.
You Danica Patrick fans have something to be proud of tonight, because she has been in the hunt all race long.
And she's going, well, she's working on the high side of Dixon anyhow.
She's working on Dixon for the 4th position. There are the top 5 at Texas Motor Speedway.
The Firestone 550 on Versus is brought to you.
500 drivers put complete trust in their cars. But when you're out on the road trying to make it to work, are you sure you can trust your motor oil?
Put your trust in Peak Performance Motor Oil. Formulated to protect against thermal breakdown, Peak is the only motor oil tough enough to be the official oil of the Indianapolis 500.
Whether you cover 500 miles in a few hours or it takes hours to get to work, you can count on Peak. When you peak, you win.
Select IZOD IndyCar driver. Driver selected, Marco Andretti. Select race transport. Mission, finish first. The fastest drivers in the world. See who wins at racetotheparty.com.
I've always wanted to do this, sir.
Buckle up.
Mario, there's a big left turn coming up. Funny. Mario, I kind of have to go to the bathroom.
We have a left turn coming up.
I got it.
Crosswalk.
I see it.
I'm hungry.
Honda performance lives in our race cars and in the Accord and Civic Coupes. Go to shophonda.com and enter for a chance to start an IndyCar race in this car with Mario Andretti.
You can buy Royal Purple for increased horsepower, superior protection, and fewer oil changes come at no additional charge. Royal Purple is available at quality oil change centers and auto parts stores nationwide. Find one near you at royalpurple.com.
Just some great racing so far in the Firestone 550 at Texas Motor Speedway. On board there with Marco Andretti, you got a shot of Vitor Meira, who is currently running in 9th position. So hats off to Vitor, and now we're on board with Marco Andretti once again, running 8th. That's Alex Lloyd up ahead, and also E.J. Viso. Marco goes to the high side again.
Clear by 2.
And you just heard him drop a gear. He had to get up on the high side there, probably lift and just drop a gear.
Here's TK looking back on Matos and Schechter. Schechter right behind TK.
Ooh, we saw some flame. Anytime you see flame, that means it's a lift.
And you see Schechter's car kind of move a little bit up there on the high side. Just a little bit of movement of sliding around up there. He's on the bottom now.
Here's Lindy.
George Klotz, the strategist for Ryan Hunter-Reay, an up and down day for him. How have you managed to get him currently in 10th?
Every time we come in, the car started off not very good at all. And every time we come in, we just kept making adjustments. Now the thing's in pretty good shape here. It'd be nice to get about 5 more cars here, and then we'd be really looking real good.
And I know he was having radio communication problems earlier. Is that better?
Yeah, that's fixed too. We've changed radios up top there, so I think we're in pretty good shape that far as that goes too.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you.
Ryan Hunter-Reay is actually faster than those up front. He's running 2:11, and Tagliani is running 2:10.
And if you remember, you heard George say they just keep tuning on the car. So as this race goes along with pit stops, the guys can make the adjustments to where the track's going to be faster and faster and have a good race car.
Briscoe and Powers still at it.
And Tagliani's just looking back there going, you guys just stay side by side as long as you want.
Coming into tonight, Tagliani had led 21 laps in his entire IZOD IndyCar career, and tonight he has led 29 and counting.
I'm down here in the IZOD Performance Pit Center, and I've been analyzing Dario Franchitti. He was so fast early in the race. But then if you notice, his speed has dropped off considerably. Part of the issue has been the fact that he got mired down low in heavy traffic. The car didn't like being in that heavy traffic, and as you ride on board with Dario, Chip Ganassi said to me when he was pinned down low, he had to back out of the throttle, and this is all about momentum, isn't it?
And as you pointed out, Robbie, when he's in clean air out front, everything's okay, but he is mired back in some heavy traffic right now.
Yeah, and it's not just being about pinned down on the bottom, like Jack was saying. That's one part of it, but he's got cars in front of him and a lot of dirty air.
Viso and Ryan Hunter-Reay for 7th, and Ryan, I was going to say took it, but I'm not so sure.
That's a stout piece we're on board with.
Yeah, he drew. Viso is making his job a little harder.
Mario Romancini, a lap down in 19th position. The only two on not on the lead lap are Justin Wilson and Romancini. So we got 17 cars on the lead lap.
And as we just looked there on TK's helmet, the way that bobbed up and down, did you see it? It said
get well. In this case, it's Nick Ford. Some people have the get well Mike's stickers on their cars. In this case, Nick Ford, of course, as his mechanic got burned at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway, who's recovering for Tony Kanaan.
Down to Robbie.
Alex Tagliani started in 20th place, ran in the lead just a moment ago. His last pit stop was lap 101 is what Rob told me. His crew's coming in. Should be just full fuel and Firestone's going on. No adjustments whatsoever. They're happy with this car. They've really moved up through the field. Need a quick stop here. The leaders making their way by. The fuel hose is stuck. They sit in. And of course, a terrible stop, and I saw them. He went to leave, and they did not even come close to having that hose removed.
And there is a new safety innovation that is not quite online yet that will prevent that in the future. And there is a probe, an electronic probe, that when the fuel probe is connected, you cannot put it into gear until the fuel probe is released. All of the cars have the sensors this weekend. So you can see that they're waiting for the fuel, but they sent him too soon.
Well, they sent him on the motion of him pulling out.
They sent him on the moment of the air jack, not on the fueler. Every single car here this weekend is using the fuel proximity sensor, as it's called, but it's not activated. They'll try it some more in Iowa. It'll come online and mandatory by Watkins Glen.
Fellas, give credit to another safety innovation. Remember a number of years ago, helmets were mandated for all crew members. When that crew member hit the ground, the helmet kept it from going unconscious. And now Will Power on his way.
Yep, Will Power drops down onto the apron of the track, and he will relinquish his position up front to Ryan Briscoe. Danica Patrick will fall into second spot.
And let's not forget how challenging it is on pit in and pit out here. It's very bumpy as these cars challenge those race cars coming down onto the flat off the banking. It's really tough.
Down. Don't go through the pit. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. It's going to be a long fuel stop.
And the reason it's...
Revs up a little bit, revs up. You hold the brake. It's going to be a long fuel.
It's long fuel is because it'll be tough for him to make it to the end. He is definitely in before the pit window opens. He's going to need help, as will Tagliani.
Yeah, by probably about 3 laps early of that pit window.
It's Briscoe, Patrick, Andretti, Dixon, and Viso. And you will see everything on Versus non-stop as we take a break from Texas Motor Speedway.
At TireRack.com, we stock the largest selection of tires anywhere. But we don't just ship them off to your house after you buy them. We can deliver them to one of over 5,000 of our independent recommended local installers. Because the best tires in the world can't help you if they're not properly installed on your vehicle. Right now, get a $50 Firestone prepaid card when you buy a set of eligible Firestone tires. For details, go to TireRack.com/TV. Research, buy, deliver, install.
Feel the excitement? That's peak performance. And it's electric.
Look out. Be sure everybody's safe with the new Peak backup camera system. With the Peak Jump Starter, you don't need another car to jump your dead battery, so there's no waiting. And the fun never stops with the Peak Power Inverter. It instantly converts your car's battery power to household power. Great as a mobile office or for tailgating.
Inside, outside, all around your car. When you peak, you win.
Dear user of Mayo, an invitation to come over to the other side. What else is going to take your sandwich up a notch? The lettuce? Are you up for some sandwich kick and flavor? Are you Miracle Whip?
Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple. The easy spray answer to penetrate, lubricate, and leave a long-lasting film that protects. Forget old-school aerosols and break free with Max Film, multi-purpose synthetic lubricant from Royal Purple.
77 of 228 laps complete at the Firestone 550 at Texas Motor Speedway for the IZOD IndyCar Series. We're with you live on Versus here. Ryan Briscoe leads Danica Patrick and Marco Andretti. We saw one of the crewmen for Alex Tagliani take a tumble there on pit lane. Robbie, let's talk with him.
Yeah, I'm with Phil McRobert, who's the fueler for Alex Tagliani. What happened from your perspective?
Well, I'm not sure. I just ended up on the floor, but I'm okay, so that's all that matters.
I just put gas in this thing. Are you okay?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm good, thanks.
Now, I noticed they're changing the apparatus here. Was there damage to that one, or just making sure that everything's all right for the last pit stop?
It's just a precaution to make sure there is no problems.
All right, Phil, it's a very tough job to have out here, guys. We know when fuel was spilt, but the crew was on it throwing water, and everything's well now, and they're changing the fueling nozzle.
All right, good. There are the first two with Danica Patrick, just a matter of car lengths behind the leader of the race, and Alex Lloyd and Vitor Miró having a good battle for the 9th position. Alex has that spot right now. But the ABC Supply Company car of A.J. Foyt Racing with Miró behind the wheel is trying to get around on the high side.
And now the thing that we're going to have to watch for as guys are starting to make those pit stops is pit in and pit out laps. Coming out of the pits on cold tires, what can you do? And how much can you challenge it coming down off of turn 3 onto the flat and around that bumpy turn 3-4 section to the 60-mile-an-hour speed limit, where it all begins along pit road.
Well, certainly don't forget about Danica. She is in a perfect spot. As you see, Briscoe slides up high, and Danica's got the momentum. She's after the lead. Here she goes.
Down into one, they go wheel to wheel.
Briscoe just lost the front of that car and went up the racetrack and had to get out of the throttle.
Is Danica going to be able to take the lead? I don't think so.
Guys, this is a special weekend for Danica Patrick. Her husband, Paul Hospenthal, celebrated his birthday last night. As the car started to get away, the GoDaddy car, she invited all her friends over for cake and ice cream after that last practice session. I don't know. If she wins this thing, they better eat cake every race weekend. What do you think?
I bet there's going to be a even bigger celebration if she should win. And Marco Andretti is looking strong. Also, he's in third after that performance at Indianapolis last week. Obviously, this team and this driver have things together once again.
And he loves this racetrack. And just going back, he's not afraid to get that car up on the high side. So at the end of this race, we get in some traffic, he's going to go up top if he needs to.
And they come up on some slower traffic now.
This is when Danica needs to get right on the rear attenuator of Briscoe, so in case he gets checked up by any of these back markers, she can go.
Sarah Fisher, now Mario Romancini, they're putting a lap on. Sarah Fisher's running 15th.
Marco definitely got hung up back there. Trying to make hay. Unfortunately, he lost some ground to second place spot of Danica.
These cars have one pit stop left to get them to the end, and they're going to stay out as long as they possibly can, hoping for yellow.
Here's Schechter on pit lane. He relinquishes his 14th position. He's given this car a good run. Great record here at Texas Motor Speedway.
And again, Schechter filling in for Conway, who we know is watching.
Yeah.
Again, Mike, well wishes from everybody here.
Sounded like Ziggy. Sounded like Ziggy to me.
Yeah, that would
be for Danica Patrick.
So this is it. This is kind of make or break. Hustling it down pit road and pit out.
Let's see if Briscoe stops the same lap. He's going one more lap.
Yep.
Andretti, third place in.
Okay.
Briscoe stays out.
Clear out.
Marco is away.
He wants to bust it out, getting out of pit road. Cold tires, very bumpy.
Here's Danica.
And this is a happy driver and a happy car, guys. Look at Ziggy, said no changes, just tires, fuel. They're waiting, build up. Again, this is a car I think they're happy with. A full load of fuel. Is this a winning car? That's the big question.
And now Ryan Briscoe, the leader, comes in.
This is what Robbie was talking about, in and out laps on a bumpy pit lane.
3, 2, 1, shallow.
Scott Dixon also on pit lane.
And we won't know where it all sorts out until everybody gets back on the track and we see where the gaps are.
We'll have a very good idea when he comes off and look for Danica.
Danica is here on the front stretch.
He's got to get up to speed.
There he is, just pulling out of pit lane.
Look how much ahead of steam she's got.
She's going to go by him. Well, maybe not. But she's got her tires up to temperature.
Oh,
here she goes. There she goes.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Did she come up on him quickly or what? And away she goes to the lead.
So we can say she had
It's not the lead yet. There's a couple cars that haven't pitted.
Yeah, but a brilliant outlap. Brilliant for Danica.
Yes. Here comes Briscoe.
Muto and Weldon have not pitted yet, so actually this is third, but
look at the graph he's got.
Looking outside. On your corner.
She'll make him go the long way around. She
Go out there.
Yeah.
On your corner.
But also he could stay up there and just force her to stay on the bottom and use up her tires a little bit. I mean, little speculating on our behalf to say that at this point.
Go inside. Go inside.
so is she going to stay? Now, she now is in the lead because those two have pitted. So this is the battle for the lead.
Go inside.
She has 6 overtakes.
Clear.
Briscoe has 9, and
he's on it.
He just used it.
Yep.
And did you see her car move when he came back down in front of her? You could just see a little bit of movement from the rear of her car. Nothing crazy, but that just shifts the air.
He showed some muscle there.
But, fellas, what you saw in the last couple of laps is a point of emphasis for Danica Patrick for over a year. And they analyzed Danica's performance in previous seasons. They felt she needed to get up on the wheel quicker after a pit stop when the tires are not up to pressure yet. You saw a great display of how good the learning curve has been for DP in that area.
She did that, Jack. You're absolutely right.
On board with Dario Franchitti, who is currently shown in 7th position. And Will Power 3rd. Marco Andretti is running in 4th. But up front, it is Danica Patrick running in 2nd spot. Ryan Briscoe is the leader. Tony Kanaan and Ryan Hunter-Reay are having one heck of a battle for 7th position. Look at this, man.
And these two guys have formed a special bond at Andretti Autosport, really thinking they've helped each other out.
A long time ago, as we stay on board with Tony Canano, I mentioned that he's going to be at Eldora Speedway this coming Wednesday, a track, of course, owned by Tony Stewart, to participate in the Prelude to the Dream, which is a dirt race for dirt modifieds. That will be interesting to see how TK does on the dirt. Meanwhile, here is third, fourth, and fifth, Power, Dixon, Andretti. Power, Andretti, Dixon.
Power, however, has to save fuel because, remember, he pitted way before these other cars.
Robbie?
Well, Ziggy, your girl's in second place, Danica Patrick. How is she approaching it right now? I mean, earlier they're saying, hey, she maybe doesn't want to use up her tires early on that low line. Are you just biding your time, or are you still trying to take the lead?
We'd still like to be in the lead. We're sort of holding off a little bit, but Briscoe's definitely fast. She's doing a great job out there. You know, we'll save it and see. We've still got 28 laps to go, so we'll see.
What can you say to her? Are you being a coach like Phil Jackson is for the LA Lakers? Are you trying to pump her up at all from the box?
Yeah, well, yeah, we like to, but she does a good job of doing it herself, and she's just driving a great race. We just can't seem to stay with Briscoe right now, but she's doing a great job.
Yeah, it started with a happy Danica yesterday and a lot of silence today, so that means she's happy tonight.
Briscoe has 8 overtake assist pushes left. Danica has 6. Power has 11, and Dixon 10. But it has been just a great performance by Danica Patrick to run with the leaders all night long. And here now is Dixon trying to get the third spot from Will.
Yeah, these boys have all been shuffling back and forth here. You saw Marco in the middle, Dixon in the back. Now Dixon's back up trying to get to Power. And I think the key point you mentioned is he came in on lap 171, and he's not going to make it to the end without saving some serious fuel. That being Power.
And for Will Power, don't forget, he's driving a car out there that had an A-arm jammed underneath it that they fixed with tape.
Yep.
And he was making a run for the lead earlier, but I think the reason he's back here in this position, he can't go. He's got to lift on occasion or do something because of when he pitted. Again, he's got to save fuel to make it.
So why doesn't he get behind those guys and really save fuel? If it's that big of a concern.
Well,
and then say, okay, we're good with 5 laps to go, and say, okay, get back by him.
Robbie, I can answer that question. The major issue is the fact that both Will Power and Alex Tagliani, they figured they would need at least 5 caution laps in order to go the distance without another stop.
Okay. Well, just 21 laps to go with Ryan Briscoe out in front of Danica Patrick at the Firestone 550.
The Firestone 550 on Versus.
I compete with sugarcane ethanol.
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 I compete with sugarcane ethanol. Ethanol is the fuel we use on every IZOD IndyCar race.
Cane ethanol diversifies America's fuel supply,
and it should be in your tank. It's in my tank. Learn more about advanced, renewable sugarcane ethanol.
Story about a man with a car and a job, a wife and a kid, and his name is Bob. Just a regular guy with a regular car, but it's what he rolls on that makes him a star. Firestone. His Firestone tires are known far and wide. The way they perform gives a sense of pride. That's Bob's story. He ain't no liar, because everybody knows the legends ride fire. Firestone. Legendary drivers need legendary tires.
Feel the excitement? That's peak performance. And it's electric.
The fun never stops with the Peak Power Inverter. It instantly converts your car's battery power to household power. Great for travel, mobile office, and all-out tailgating. It's easy to hook up. Plug in almost anything. Laptop, cell phone, TV, blender, whatever. Peak inverters turn your car into a party on wheels.
Inside, outside, all around your car. When you peak, you win.
Weeknights at 11, it's the Daily Line. This is not your stuffy, uptight, tie-behind-the-desk sports show.
How does he have a contract?
This is a new breed of sports show that lets you in on the action. The Daily Line reviews
The Celtics have ousted the Cavs.
and previews all of the day's sports headlines, featuring special guests, the picks,
Take the Cubbies minus 155.
your tweets and texts, and a bit of the unexpected. The Daily Line, weeknights at 11 on Versus.
Made, boys, move over. The lady is coming through. Danica Patrick wins at Twin Ring Motegi.
And that was Danica Patrick's one and only win in the IZOD IndyCar Series, an emotional one. She has given it all she has tonight and is currently running in second, dropping off of the leader, Ryan Briscoe, by a little bit now, but still a great run for Danica tonight. But we have 14 laps to go, and anything can happen, so don't go away. And here is this great battle for third and fourth position. Power, Dixon, and Marco Andretti.
You know, when you said that about Danica losing a little ground to Briscoe, she said a faster lap than him, and now it's come back again. So, I mean, just kind of going back and forth.
I thought for a moment that Power was going low enough. I wondered if he was going to turn on to pit road. That is still the question mark for Power. If he has to pit, remember, he is the point leader. If you pit, you're going to lose a ton of positions.
Yeah. And Jack's point is they need 5 yellow laps is what he said. So he said they can't conserve fuel and get behind that pack to get to the end. They got to have a yellow, so why not race hard?
And hope for one.
And hope for a yellow. Don't conserve because you got to have that yellow.
I thought he would have been a little closer. I thought he had a little tighter window that he could have saved fuel and made it. But again, we'll just have to see if they think they have it to make it.
I want Marco to get in here and shake it up with these boys.
10 laps to go. Dario Franchitti, the winner of the Indianapolis 500, is currently running in 6th position behind Marco by about 5 seconds. So he is not a factor tonight, at least at this point. There's first and second, and now back here to third, fourth, and fifth. Just giving you a perspective on what's happening up front, but keeping a closer eye on this battle. And here is Weldon and Viso. They are running in 11th and 12th position.
Mira,
I'm sorry, yeah.
You know, but you got Briscoe. There we are.
Here's Weldon.
There we go.
He's running in 10th.
Hey, there, just as we said that, I said, come on, get up there, Marco, and shake that up. And look at, is Dixon even slowing? He kind of went by him pretty quick there and gapped it. Maybe he must have had to dump the throttle somewhere in there, Dixon did. But we knew Briscoe had the speed. At Kansas City in qualifying, he was 2/10 clear on the pole here.
All right.
Fast car.
So as we thought, Alex Tagliani will need to stop. And remember, it was 1 lap later, if I remember correctly, that, or 2 laps later, thank you, Robbie, that we saw Will Power stop. So you would have to surmise he's going to be short.
Yep.
Now Russ Thompson tells me 4. So, okay, 4 laps later, which means he could have a shot.
Sounding pretty smooth on board there with Briscoe, isn't it?
Started from pole. Watching very closely the 12 car of Will Power to see if he is indeed going to have to come in for the stop. Yes, he is.
Yep. I should have stuck with the 2. We had it right, Robbie. 2. Again, championship-wise, he will drop way back with this. This will really tighten up the race.
The slow speed limit down to his pit box must seem like an eternity.
Clive said all the way down here at the end.
Just a quick splash and he'll be out again. his teammate, Ryan Briscoe, now with about a 2-second advantage on Danica Patrick.
And chasing Danica would be her teammate, Andretti Autosport Marco, back there.
2 to go.
Well, when Briscoe needed to, he showed some muscle, because Danica and her crew did a fantastic job at seizing the moment, getting ahead of Briscoe, and he had to steal it from her. Yeah. She took the track position and made him earn it. Unfortunately, just don't quite have the speed to stay with Briscoe.
And we heard that report that she was good at the beginning of stints, and that was the chance. So 1 to go for Briscoe.
1 more to go, and the race will be over. Danica Patrick is pedaling as hard as she can, but it's not going to be to much avail if Ryan Briscoe can hang together for 1/2 lap. Ryan Briscoe crashed last week at the Indianapolis 500. He came so close last year. Tonight he started from pole and wasn't denied. His 7th career win in the IZOD IndyCar Series. Ryan Briscoe wins for the first time this year. And the margin of victory over Danica Patrick, 1.4 seconds. And Roger Penske is in a much better mood than he was last Sunday at Indianapolis. In the 20 previous races at Texas, only 2 that finished under green have had a margin of victory wider than a second. In 1999 with Mark Dismore, and in 1998 with John Paul Jr. Ryan Briscoe wins at Texas. Robbie?
With El Capitan Roger Penske, does this take a little bit of the sting out of last week at Indy?
Well, I don't know. When you think about last week, Chip's guys did a heck of a job, and Franchitti gets a lot of credit for a heck of a race. We just we didn't come to play last week, but today we did, and Briscoe really resumed what I saw him as a great driver. This is a terrific race. I take my hat off to Danica. She was terrific tonight.
This is your 6th win here in Texas. Could it have played out any better, because your car looked strong from the get-go?
Well, I think for Brian, he needed it, Ryan, and also Danica and Will had a tough day, but overall, can't take this one going home with it.
Congratulations, Roger.
Thanks.
Team Penske's 6th win here at Texas, breaking the tie they had with Panther Racing.
And Briscoe absolutely needed this shot in the arm, guys.
Yes, he did.
You know, with getting in the, after he came in at pit stop in Indianapolis, put sticker tires on and kind of washed out in turn 4 and got in the wall. He absolutely needed to come home with this, and he did. He delivered. You know, that I think the guy responds to that kind of pressure.
Ryan Briscoe wins his 4th time on an oval and his 3rd on an 1.5-mile oval, as Danica Patrick has emerged from her GoDaddy.com race car, finishing in 2nd position. Meanwhile, Ryan will drive the victory lane here, and we will be back to talk with him and others in just a moment. At Texas Motor Speedway, the Firestone 550 is history, and Ryan Briscoe is the winner. Back in a moment. The celebration has begun in Victory Lane as Ryan Briscoe wins. IZOD salutes a winning performance with the IZOD Victory Lane interview. Here is Lindy Thaxton.
Ryan Briscoe, you just seem to start and finish at the same place at this track. 12th in 05, 3rd in 08, 2nd in 09. You said before this, we might as well just call it a win, huh? Here you go.
Yeah, I was joking, but
yeah.
Well, this is unbelievable. You know, I wasn't sure about my car after warm-up last night, and we made a lot of changes going into the race today. So this one goes to my engineer, Eric. Great job today giving me a car that was just so good in traffic on my own all day long. Thank you.
We heard Roger Penske say, boy, he's really resumed his role as a great driver tonight. What's that like for you to hear that?
Yeah, I needed that. It was pretty miserable coming off of Indy the way we did, and we just didn't quite have it for Dario, and then I made the mistake at the end. So this win, it definitely means a lot. I really want to thank the whole team, more guys here for sticking behind me. They gave me great pit stops all day long, and Verizon, what a sponsor.
Well, you didn't waste any time going back around Danica out there, huh?
Well, I knew I was going to have to. She was showing some really good speed. Got a good run and used the push to pass at the right time, and man, she did a good job today. I think we just had a slightly faster car.
Yeah, she gave you a pretty good battle out there.
Yeah, several times. It was actually good fun racing with Danica.
And now Ryan Briscoe, Jack, has gone from 7th to 5th in the point standings.
And Lindy, sometimes it's not always about speed. I want to take you back and I want to show you Ryan Briscoe's first pit stop. Now let's go ahead and roll it and pay attention to the outside, because Ryan Hunter-Reay is going to be coming right in front. Now a crew has to be aware of what's happening. They hold him for just a second. Ryan Briscoe is able to proceed out. Now after that, Ryan Briscoe talked to Roger Penske and said, hey, thanks for keeping me clean. You got to do that, Robbie Floyd, if you want to get to victory lane.
Well, Danica Patrick, I said to you before we walked down to the track, I said, have fun out there. Was that fun?
That first stint was really fun. Man, everybody was just slip-sliding around, and it was like shooting fish in a barrel in that first stint. I was just one by one, and I'm kind of bummed the yellow came out, but the car was really good today. And, you know, I think, you know, gosh, at Kansas, we were a little shy on downforce, and, you know, here we kind of were like, hey, we better make sure we've got enough. And so, you know, that maybe have played into, you know, Briscoe going around the outside, because, gosh, I couldn't go around the outside of anybody. I mean, you know, those lead cars, they're so good they can run the white line the whole time. And
here's you taking the lead, and I know you probably couldn't hear it over the Honda's engine, but the crowd was on their feet.
Gosh, you know, it was so great to get into the lead again. And, you know, thank you so much to all the guys. They had great stops, and my engineer, Eddie, did a great job with the car. We hit it this weekend, and, you know, I'm just really happy to put the GoDaddy car in a position where people are watching it and noticing it, and everybody did a really good job tonight.
She says, you know, it's crazy, guys, when I'm saying damn, and I finished in second place. That's what she was looking forward to.
Great race by Danica Patrick, finishing second here to Ryan Briscoe tonight at the Firestone 550. More in a moment on Versus. Back at Texas Motor Speedway, Dario Franchitti's Target Chip Ganassi crew of the Firestone pit performers of the evening, spotting a total of 2 minutes and 17 seconds on pit lane. Let's talk with them. Here's Robbie.
And he's watching it as well, going, those are my boys. That's why I'm in the position I'm in.
Absolutely. Did you see that tonight? They got me from, I think, 3rd to 1st in the first stop, and all night they were on it. Last week as well, all those stops at Indy 500, every one of them, they were on it. So got to thank the Target boys tonight. Awesome job.
Pretty good past 7 days. The Indianapolis 500 champion, now the IZOD IndyCar Series points leader.
Yeah, it was looking good at the first half of the race there. The Energizer car was really good up front. That restart, though, when some guys were ahead, having not pitted, for some reason Justin was lapped down, running me 3 wide, and that lost me momentum, and it was horrendous in traffic. So I was just hanging on. Went back to something like 14th at one point, and then started picking them off one by one again.
You and Scotty both together at the finish. Were your cars set up similar, or did you have different styles as far as the setup was concerned?
Well, we had quite similar setups, but we liked completely different things from the car. So I'm sure up high when it was all dancing around, Dixie would have loved that there. But neither of us, I think, were particularly happy with the cars tonight.
They finished 5th place today, and he said it could have been much, much worse. And he's the series points leader, Bob.
And for the first time all season, Will Power is not the points leader. Will Power loses a position, is now 2nd in the points to Dario. Scott Dixon and Elio Castroneves, the only 2 in the top 10 who did not make a move. Ryan Briscoe up 2. Ryan Hunter-Reay loses a spot. Tony Kanaan moves up 1. So does Marco Andretti, and Lindy is with him.
And Marco, first of all, congratulations on the 3rd place finish. And I heard you say you came in not really expecting to finish that high. So what did it?
Well, I think, as a team, we kind of struggled in the heat yesterday. But, I think overnight we all kind of put our heads together and really came up with some really good cars. We kind of had to pile on the downforce a bit. So we wanted the stints to go long. That's when we were coming. But I think a great run for the Venom team. But I think for the whole team, Danica did a great job tonight as well.
Oh, yeah. And coming back from what we're going to show you right here in the pits, not a bad job there. Talk us through what happened.
Well, we just lost the right rear, but, you know, fortunately at a place like this, it's nice and wide open. The high line was working for me again here, which was, we were lucky for that. Normally when a car is good, you can bring it back to the front, and fortunately we were able to do that.
And we saw a lot from Ryan Hunter-Reay, too. It seems it's just a good night for Andretti Autosport, and that must feel pretty good for you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, I think we carried a little bit of momentum from Indy, but as a team, just a great effort. We just got to keep working.
Marco Andretti with a third-place finish at Texas Motor Speedway. Bob?
And his second consecutive, as a matter of fact, finish. He also was third last Sunday at the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Briscoe wins here in Texas. Ryan Briscoe's car in victory lane covered with confetti tonight here at Texas Motor Speedway. Ryan Briscoe was the winner in this event here tonight. Tony Kanaan got knocked around a lot out there tonight. He had several close calls. Watch this.
I think that was the first one that knocked you out of your seat, Bob. Or maybe it was this one. Whoa!
And then look at this.
Danica Patrick, yeah. He lost tons of spots on that one.
And there's E.J. Viso.
I don't remember seeing that one till right there.
What a night, Robbie.
I wish you could replay him watching this. That was funny. And some of you said you didn't even remember. You starting to get old timers?